Okay.
To the camera, I can.
Okay. This week, I booked my flights and rented my apartment for my annual study period at the Hartman Institute in Jerusalem over the summer. 2 weeks that really refreshes my soul and refills my rabbinic tank. 2 weeks to breathe in the air of Jerusalem, walk the familiar streets, smell the fragrances that conjure up special memories, special moments over the many times and many years that I have spent in Israel. So perhaps this is why I was a little more attuned to a poetic version of the Hashkivenu prayer that I read in Mishkan Tefillah last night. It's on page 161. It ends, you don't have to look it up, it ends with the words, "Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours." What does our Jerusalem and yours mean? Is our Jerusalem different than God's Jerusalem? I would say not geographically or spatially. The difference is that we walk the streets of the Jerusalem of reality, and God occupies the Jerusalem of our ideal. Never has the distance been so far between those two Jerusalems. This year, I worry about returning to Jerusalem, not because of health or safety or security concerns. I worry about returning to a Jerusalem that I do not recognize. I worry that the Jerusalem of my heart and soul and ideals is being crushed under the boot of the Jerusalem of reality. The state of Israel is undergoing an existential crisis unlike any that I have learned about, seen, or experienced in the past. God's Jerusalem, the Jerusalem of our ideals, is enshrined in Megillat Atzmaut, Israel's Declaration of Independence. The state of Israel will be open for Jewish immigration and for the ingathering of the exiles. It will foster the development of the country for the benefit of all its inhabitants. It will be based on freedom, justice, and peace as envisioned by the prophets of Israel. It will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. It will guarantee freedom of religion, conscience, language, education, and culture. It will safeguard the holy places of all religions, and it will be faithful to the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. So why do I say that the distance between the Jerusalem of reality and the Jerusalem of our ideals is so far apart? Because the current government in Israel is the single greatest challenge to that paragraph from the Declaration of Independence in the history of the Jewish state. There are elements that are xenophobic and bigoted and hateful towards Israel's LGBTQ population and have no particular interest in or patience with world Jewry. That's you and me. There's a real possibility that the current Israeli government will eviscerate the independence of the Israeli Supreme Court system, the Jewish state's only mechanism of checks and balances. You want to know how bad it is? Abraham Foxman, the former national director of the ADL and a man who could never have been accused of being soft on Israel, came out and said it. If Israel ceases to be an open democracy, I won't be able to support it. It actually gets worse. How about this from the Times of Israel, from the Israeli press? Quote, leading U.S. financial institute J.P. Morgan has warned of a growing risk of investing in Israel due to the new government's far-reaching plans for overhauling the judicial system. As in, people hesitate to invest in a country that has no independent judiciary. Yes, this is bad. This is not about a theological disagreement. Israel is playing a very dangerous game with its economy. Israel is playing a very dangerous game as well with its most important ally, the United States of America, and its unquestioned friend in the White House. But worst of all, Israel is playing a very dangerous game with American Jewry. It might take those allegiances for granted. It should not. If asked, most American Jews would probably agree with the tenets of liberal Zionism. They will support that version of the Jewish state. They will not support a Hebrew-speaking version of Hungary, Turkey, or, God forbid, Iran. But for all of the governmental legal wrangling, I say that the distance between the Jerusalem of reality and the Jerusalem of our ideals is so far apart because of something that happened 3 weeks ago, something that pains me deeply, but something that I cannot let go unaddressed. I refer to the horror that happened in the northern West Bank city of Huwara. In the aftermath of the killing of 2 Israelis, as well as an American citizen, Ilan Ganelis, which is horrible and tragic, and unacceptable, and terroristic, Jewish settlers went on a rampage, torching dozens of homes in that city and killing a Palestinian. There's only one word that is adequate to describe what happened in Huwara, and that is pogrom. Few have put it as eloquently and as starkly as Rabbi Tamar Elad Applebaum, my friend and my teacher of Kehilat Zion, the conservative synagogue in Jerusalem. She said, what happened in Huwara is a mark of Cain on Jewish morality and the state of Israel. And if we do not stand up to this together, as human beings, as siblings to all human beings who were born in the image of God, we will not be allowed to stay. The land will vomit us out. The Torah will vomit us out. Once upon a time, we might have imagined Jews would be incapable of such things. When so many times in Jewish history we have heard mobs chanting, "Death to the Jews," it is inconceivable that in the Jewish state there would be Jewish mobs chanting, "Death to the Arabs." The temptation in this painful moment is to say either, we cannot criticize Israel, it's their country, we have no right, or Israel has hurt and disappointed us, so we are going to walk away. But how can I leave you like this? How can I leave you with the distance between our ideals and our reality so far apart? In my despair, I turned to my friend, as I so often do, Rabbi Jeff Salkin, who offered me an image from the Torah portion of last week. When Moses approached the camp and saw the golden calf and the dancing, his anger burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hands, breaking them into pieces at the foot of the mountain. What happened to those broken pieces? The tradition tells us that after God makes Moses come back up to the top of Mount Sinai and carve a new set of tablets, those shards were placed together with that second set into the ark. Brokenness and wholeness together. It is a heartwarming image that even and especially in the midst of brokenness, of broken dreams, that God even now and always invites us to be partners with God and to craft a new covenant, a new way forward. And I am prepared to tell you this, as broken as I am and as broken as many of you are, I am not taking this opportunity to walk away from Israel. No way, no how. I will not walk away. I will lean in. I will continue doing whatever I can to nurture the dream and to repair the reality. I believe in the mission of the Jewish people, and I believe in the vision of the Jewish state. What gives me hope? The hundreds of thousands of people in the streets. Prime Minister Netanyahu can call their actions anarchy, but I call it civil disobedience. Those crowds give me hope. They remind me that hatred, bigotry, and xenophobia are not our Judaism. This is not our Zionism. This is no more Judaism, and it is no more Zionism than January 6th was Americanism or democracy. We speak of tikkun olam, of repairing the world, but we must go further and perhaps even deeper. We must now speak of tikkun ha'am, repairing the Jewish people. And yes, we must speak of tikkun ha'medinah, repairing the Jewish state. And with it, tikkun ha'nefesh, the repair of the Jewish soul. And then there will be no distance between God's Jerusalem and ours.